Hello, guys. Welcome to another live show, a live player ratings and match reaction for Arsenal 2, Liverpool 2. Game just ended, and I'm sure everybody has loads of thoughts. So make sure you guys get into the chat, letting me know what you guys are thinking and feeling and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, a big game today that, you know, I think some people were like pivoting it or trying to, say that this is the game that's going to make or break the season kind of thing. And I just, I think those are conversations probably for another day, just because it's so hard to know. I think the formula is always, you have to get something away from home against your title contenders, and then you have to beat them at home. That being said, I'm not sure that I would frame this as like the must win. I just feel like we've already dropped too many points in games that we didn't need to. And so I can't frame this performance in that way. Also looking at the amount of players that we lost, so I'm just gonna put that out there. These fucking weirdos, let me just ban them. I don't know, Diddy, Bill Cosby, all that kind of stuff. You're a fucking weirdo. And get the fuck out of my chat. Anyway, but make sure you guys are liking and subscribing. I kind of felt like I think I leave the game feeling disappointed that we didn't get all 3 points, because I feel like we were the better team, but not all that surprised by the result because of the players that were missing at the back and just the differences between the two teams. Liverpool are the type of team where they don't need a lot of chances or to play particularly well to get results, because they have players at the top end of the pitch that are quite clinical, that are always very dangerous. And Arsenal, I think you saw it in this game, as good as we play in so many games, we fall short or we don't dominate the way that we should because our players don't have the same abilities as other teams in the final third. And I think you saw a rough performance from Kai Havertz. Everything was Saka. If Saka didn't do it, nothing happened. There were just some poor shots that weren't even on target, some chances that just should have had to go in the back of the net or at least hit the target. And so to me, it's like, I'm never surprised that, that we could play well against the good teams. I'm not surprised that we dominated Liverpool. I just feel like we'll always kind of fall short in those types of games where we just kind of needed one person to just get it on target and put it in the back of the net. And we just didn't have that. And so this is, again, when we talk about, we scored 91 goals last season. What are you talking about? It's not about the amount of goals. It's the fine margins where we just need something out of nothing, or we need somebody to have a little bit more quality in the final third. And we just don't have it across the front line. We don't have it in attacking midfield. And that's starting to show its ugly head multiple times. So that's how I feel about the game. Really good performance. I think there's some individual performances that need to be spoken about. I do think that Slot's second half substitutions coupled with Kiwior coming in really kind of rattled us. And I think that we went into not necessarily a negative frame of mind, but we just kind of lost our footing. And then we had that one singular moment where we get it over to Martinelli. And this is going to sound harsh, but Martinelli has to keep that ball. He just has to. He has to keep that ball, get to the corner. He has to do anything other than just lose it, because you're out of position. They went right down that side and scored a goal. And I don't know what Kiwior was doing for the goal, but it was just, wild. Disappointed, but it's a draw at home to probably the second best team in the league, if not, the second best team in the league. So it's not like the end of the world. It really isn't. It's just those same issues that we have rear its ugly head every single time that we need a goal. Most of the time we don't get it. Most of the time we don't get it. And so I will never and what I don't want to happen also is that we did still play quite open even after Kiwior came on the pitch. We kind of lost our footing, but we still tried to attack. And I found that, that was something that I didn't count on. I thought Mikel would go super negative. What I don't want to have is Arteta to look at this and say, okay, yeah, see, I was right to batten down the hatches. I think had we had battened down the hatches for the entire half, we would have still conceded goals, if not more than what we did. We still carried a threat, which meant that Liverpool couldn't just attack us. So yeah, I'm disappointed. Definitely think that we were the better team, but ultimately, we can't continue to go on with players that aren't clinical and can't hit the target, and very Kai, you should be hitting the target. Martinelli have to be hitting the target. And I thought the two of them had very spotty games. And, if they play to the best of their ability or we have different players there, maybe we come out with all 3 points. Well, let's put it this way. If we have, I don't know, let's say it's like a Salah type player or Diaz, or even, in those positions and not who we have, I think we score a goal, and the third goal before they score the second goal, which was paramount. We had to score that third goal first, and because you just knew that Liverpool were going to conjure up something. And so, yeah, I think it feels kind of similar to the Man City game where you felt like we should have won and we didn't. And it's like a draw is not bad, but in the context of the game and the performance that we put in, we probably should have got all 3 points. But no Calafiori, no Saliba, Gabriel off the pitch, Timber comes off, no Odegaard. You have to say that was probably a better performance than any of us could have imagined. So, yeah. Let's see what you guys are saying. Chosen One says, great performance from Saka, captain's performance. Shagun says, it hurts, I'll be real. But glad to see Saka back. Nico says, Martinelli is a dog, man, just wants to play 100 miles per hour every time. It's not even, he doesn't even play 100 miles per hour anymore. He's actually lost pace, and he was totally clamped by Konate. And I just felt in that moment where, we're out of shape, the last thing you can do is lose the ball right then. You just cannot lose the ball. You have to get it. You have to get your body in between the ball and Konate or whoever that is. You cannot let them just take it away from you. And I just felt like it was just, and I don't want Arteta to look at it as, oh, I should have just sat deep and defended the whole time. I really hope he doesn't think that. I think he has to think Martinelli needs to do better in that position. And it's not just Martinelli either. Kai had a stinker as well. And he's had 3 stinkers in a row since coming back from international break. And so, one game away from home and 2 games at home, it was almost like we didn't have anybody up there, so you have to take that into consideration. But, it's just one of those things where I'm never going to be surprised that we don't come up with the 3 points in these situations, because you have to have players that can make a chance out of nothing, that can get the ball on target. The chances that Martinelli and Kai had to put the ball on target were not hard chances. They're not difficult situations to just, Kai was calling for the ball and just, it comes to him and he just hits it over the bar. Martinelli is right in the box. He just has to hit it on target and skies it into the stands. It's just, we really needed to reinforce our front line. So the story will always remain the same. But it wasn't a terrible performance. It was actually a really good performance. And I just wonder why we couldn't play that way against Bournemouth, why we couldn't play that way against Shakhtar. We always show up for the big games, but the small teams, we struggle. So yeah, let me read some of these comments. Anton Dunn says, Martinelli is terrible. Decision-making makes me sick. His decision-making has always been a thing. And, people were saying he was back and telling me to apologize and stay on that side. And I'm just like, I'm not, because he's not back. Burmese says, these injuries are worrisome. Our defenders keep getting hurt every time. Sid says another poor half performance. Why always stick to defend? I actually disagree with that. I saw several people put out this tweet that we're just defending. We actually didn't in the second half. There was never a point in time where we just sat in our box and defended. There might have been points where Liverpool got on top of us, but we attacked. We kept trying to attack. The problem is when we got into those areas, we didn't do well enough in those moments. And so I think we're using old narratives and applying them to games in which they don't apply. We didn't sit back and defend. I'm actually fearful that because we attacked, because we actually conceded that second goal because we tried to attack. I'm fearful that Arteta will use that as a reason to do what you're saying, which is just defend. So I disagree that we just sat back and defend. And you guys also have to remember that Liverpool are not a bad team. And so the idea that they weren't going to have any possession doesn't make sense. And when they made those 3 changes, and when they brought on like Szoboszlai, they did get a better foothold in the game. So I don't think Arteta said sit back and defend. I don't. So even if it's the ball possession, if you lose possession and you don't have, do you think Liverpool decided to give us possession in the first half? Or did we just outplay them in the first half? Those are 2 different things. It's different when the manager tells you not to attack and just defend and sit in your box versus the other team just puts a foothold in the game. So I completely disagree with that. Jonathan says, I'm tired, deflated. We basically have to be perfect now or title over. I mean, I don't know. I didn't place that importance on this game. I never said that if we lose this game or we don't win this game, the title is over. I felt like but you guys know I never thought we were going to win the title. So my feelings was never on my shoulders like that. I never felt that way. But if you went into this game and thought that this was the game that was the end, then I don't know what to tell you. We really, you could take that draw if you don't do what you did against Bournemouth. And that's why that performance in that game is so much more puzzling to me. Because if you can play like this against Liverpool with players missing, and ravaged the way that you are, then to me, there's just no reason to perform the way that we did against Bournemouth. So Erwin says Poole couldn't get into the game in the first half because we kept winning the ball off of them. Second half, we didn't try. Was it that we didn't try or did we lose? I think also you have to remember that we also have players that aren't fully fit. So we saw second half, Timber was losing some of his whatever. Partey also got a little tired as well, you could tell. And so I think, again, saying that we didn't try is removing context away from, I don't know if you guys weren't watching the game or not, but we just got tired. I don't know what to tell you. We were so on top of them in that first half, and they made 3 changes before we made any. They made 3 changes before we made any. So, of course, on tired legs with fresh legs in their team in the second half, after we were winning all those passes, all those balls, I don't think it was that we didn't try. I think people are in their feelings. And this is coming from somebody who is always considered being so emotional. I do think you guys are in your feelings right now. We didn't not try in the second half, and we didn't sit back and defend. Liverpool got a foothold in the game when they made them 3 changes. And we got tired. Partey was tired. And he was a big part of that first half dominance. He got tired. Marino got tired. Timber got tired. So I just feel like it's not that we didn't try, But yeah, Solo says excuse. Not necessarily. I feel like if you think I'm making excuses because I'm saying that I think that we did try, what am I making an excuse for? What is the excuse? Use common sense here. I'm not saying that when I started the thing, I said that I felt like we should have been far and clear in the first half, and our attackers actually really let us down in those moments where we should have been 3-1 up. So what excuses am I actually making? I don't think that, first of all, Liverpool are just not a bad side. They're just not a bad side. So they're always going to have an opportunity coming back into the game. They just are. It was 2-1. They made changes. So that Szoboszlai change really helped them. So I'm having a hard time connecting to we didn't try and we just sat back and defended. We actually had opportunities in the second half. We actually attacked. And the reason why we conceded that second goal was because we were attacking. So applying context and giving my opinion is not making excuses, because we should have won the game. So please, you guys, listen. Use your thinking caps today, because I'm really not in the mood. I'm not going to be like cute with it today. If you're saying stupid shit and you're not using your brain, I'm going to tell you. Clement says, whose fault is that we don't have players who can pick up injuries throughout the season? Again, it goes back to Arteta and Edu not addressing the needs in the summer window. And I said that, like, my expectations of our season were very much so framed by the way that we built the team. You know, not getting those attacking players, I felt like was sacrilegious. Like, it just was not what you should do. It was like diabolical. We didn't even play Sterling today because he can't be trusted. He genuinely cannot be trusted. MLS and Ethan should be ahead in the pecking order coming onto the pitch than Jesus and Sterling. That's how much better they are than those players. They're not, you cannot trust those two to come on. And those are like our two main guys coming off of the bench. These are guys that have hundreds of goals in the Premier League. These guys are so experienced, but they're zeros right now. And so to me, that's just, and also you have Tomiyasu, who, you know, again, injury prone players will always cost you. Ben White playing on injuries for a couple of years has been on Tomiyasu. You know, Timber also being rushed back because no Tomiyasu. You know, instead of having to play Kiwior, who was diabolical for the second goal, he was totally out of position, flailing, didn't have a clue where he was supposed to be. Tomiyasu should be playing that position. So, yeah, I think it's just, it all goes back to the window. So the energy for the performance to me is just like, the performance was good, but it was the most you can do with a group of players that aren't clinical, you know, and major holes in the squad where you just kind of scratch the surface and boom, you know, you don't have what you need. I am happy that Arteta did not play Zinchenko, though. I will give him credit for that. I think putting on MLS was a much better option than bringing on Zinchenko. MLS is a much better option for us. So Arteta did some brave things today that actually almost worked out. But if you have the first half and the first half of the first half where you should have scored those 3 goals, you know, and you don't do that, you leave yourself susceptible to just making one mistake, you know. So yeah, I can only look at the performance like that. And people that think that Liverpool's never going to have any possession in our team, they're never going to be able to, you know, figure out how to get a little foothold into the game, are totally delusional. Totally delusional. They made those changes, and those changes gave them a little bit more of a foothold in the game. That wasn't that we just stopped playing. You know, you're attributing Bournemouth and Shakhtar and PSG and all that to a game where, if you're actually watching the game, you could not have possibly thought that we were not trying in the second half. Genuinely. I know you're in your emotions, but come on. Mark says, I'm very happy. We played the best game ever. Men only. Had Ben White in the defense, and I'm so proud for the boys. Ben White actually leaves the game for me as a positive. I think he leaves with no blood on his hands. He got an assist. He held his own in Saliba's absence. And then he also had to play with Kiwior, you know, which isn't the best. He didn't deserve to not have the 3 points, and I'm really happy about his performance because I was down on Ben White, you know, at the beginning of the season. So I think he did a good job, to be honest. IEC says all this boils down to our transfer window. I mean, that's what I think, you know, but hey. Cabello says Arteta isn't proactive. He's really reactive. Why wait for them to score first before making all the subs? We could all see the players were tired. Well, I'm glad that you guys admit that you can see that they were tired, because it was obvious. It wasn't that they weren't trying to win those balls. I think it's dangerous to say that the players weren't trying. Of course they were trying. They're tired. Hello. Especially like somebody like Partey. I'm surprised he lasted as long as he did. He played really well like the whole game, but you could just tell like we were losing a little bit of momentum. So I think the changes should have came earlier. I think we always wait 10 minutes too late, and then he loves to make substitutions after we concede. He's so afraid to make a little change, and It's one of his biggest downfalls for me as a manager. So I agree that he is quite reactive throughout the game. Saman says the referee is against us again. The last corner was not awarded. You have to say that was probably like you have to even that out with, Trossard getting that foul. That was never really a foul. So there were some things that went our way that weren't necessarily, things that we should have benefited from, and then vice versa. I think where the referee really got it wrong was the penalty. I think that's a penalty. Konate didn't get the ball. That was like a dangerous, play in the box. I actually think that's a penalty. But the corner that wasn't called, terrible call. But equally, Trossard shouldn't have got that foul. So yeah. Sorry, guys, my nose is just got stuffed up as soon as I started talking. Boy says Kiwior was wayward for the second goal. He looks a few steps behind the play at elite level. I mean, when he came on, I got worried instantly because he's just not the type of player that he encourages nervousness. And I just don't even know what position he was taking up. Even like MLS, after the ball hit the back of the net, you can see him. He turns around and he looks at Kiwior and he says, "What are you doing?" Because he ran beyond MLS and left Salah alone central. And it was just the weirdest thing. But Kiwior is somebody that, I feel like as much as I like him and I do think there's talent there, he's not stepping up to our level. And every time that he plays, he costs us something now. It's almost guaranteed that he has some culpability in a goal that we concede. And Arteta actually played multiple players out of position to keep him from starting today. And I think any player like that, where the manager is playing, one of your best midfielders at right back, he's also playing your right back at center back, and he's playing, your right back at left back, just to make a jigsaw puzzle that doesn't include you in the team. I think that says so much about how much, and I've always told you guys, Arteta does not rate Kiwior, and I don't think he's necessarily wrong in that. I just feel the sooner we move him on, the better. There's no point in keeping somebody around that can't even keep us from conceding in the last 20 minutes of a game. There's too many off moments between the Bournemouth pass back and today. He's just not somebody that you can rely upon. But again, they would have hoped that Tomiyasu is fit. He's not. So yeah. John says, should have bagged 3 points. Now we're 5 points behind City. All I can do is laugh. We definitely should have had all 3 points today. I just have to look at, our front line and say, can't hit the target. James says, Zinni being snubbed for MLS speaks volumes. It does. Kiwior and Zinchenko are two players that need to be moved on, because Arteta is using 17-year-olds and also moving people around and playing them out of position to keep you off the pitch. Those are two players that he doesn't trust. Boy says, told these mad about the kids. Arteta still a villain for putting Waneri on today instead of any other matches. And I think I agree with that. I don't understand why Waneri is coming in games like this, but he can't start against, bottom feeders. And I thought that him and MLS and probably in particular, looked really good today, and they don't look out of place. You brought, one of them on against Spurs. You brought one of them on against Man City, but you just could not fathom starting them against Southampton or Leicester. It will never make sense to me. But when his back is against the wall, he's just kind of throwing things out there, and the kids look good. The kids look good. So yeah. George says the youngsters are playing better when Ari and Miles Lewis-Skelly are stepping up. Sabat says Arteta needs to learn how to make substitutions and give chances for young players he has fear. Martin says, all right, been proud of the players, but the Premiership is gone. Probably. Jonathan says, sorry, Jess, people are expecting to win this year. That's why we're judging this harshly. If you expected to win this year, you should have been raging when the transfer window closed. Too many people were excited about the window, were telling me that it was just fine. If you thought this group of players had enough to win the title this year, I don't know what you're smoking, And so for me, it's nobody needs to apologize to me. It's fine. I get that people are emotional about this game. I still feel like you should be able to see it more clearly and not say things like you feel like the players didn't try in the second half. I just feel like that's just, I hate when we don't do well in a game or you don't get the result that you want, and you say things that you just say anything. Of course the players tried in the second half. Of course they did. We didn't sit back in our box and just defend. We didn't. We lost a little bit of our get up and go because bitches were tired after playing so well in that first half, and guys are not fit enough. And Liverpool got a foothold into the game because guess what? They're ahead of us in the table. Right now, you can say that they are a better team than us. So the idea that they would never have any chances or, the game was really lost when we didn't score that third goal. I knew that they were going to get something. And unfortunately, Gabriel gets injured. And when they see certain players come out on the pitch, I just feel like it just breathes a level of discomfort into the team. Kiwior, just another Rob Holding, unfortunately. But I'm actually really surprised that people are looking at this game as like, this was the title decider. Kind of surprised by that. But I also said we would finish third, so I have to caveat everything that I said about that. Shamaria says, yeah, fair play to Arteta. John Donut says, I love how Arteta and Edu tried to spin Sterling signing as a masterclass in deal making. I mean, we didn't even use him today. That's how shocking it is. I wanted to believe that Sterling would do something. And I know that he needs to get up to speed, but to not even be trusted to contribute against Liverpool today, I feel like is a big sign, because we needed a goal and he chose Jesus over you, which is insane, so yeah, but again, we should have bought a winger and a striker. If you have your own version of Duran and Bomo on the bench, you don't lose today because you would have had them 3 goals. Or you don't draw today, you would have had them 3 goals. But it was tough watching Martinelli and Kai Havertz today. I'm not going to lie. I like both players and I think they're talented, but they leave a lot to be desired in moments where you really need them to just give us a little bit of something. They're not quite there where Saka is. Saka was carrying the attack today, and that's really unfortunate. And these are fine margins, by the way, because I do think we had a good performance. But in the end of the day, I feel like the difference between the 3 points today and not getting 3 points today was actually the difference between the two teams' attacks, because they didn't need to dominate the game to get 2 goals away from home against us. But we didn't score that third goal, and we had almost all the play in the first, maybe 60 minutes. So yeah. Arshavin says, anyone saying the league is gone is absolutely tapped. It's October. Neither City or Liverpool will drop 0 points, and then they have to play each other. Nicholas says, agree with Jess about Sterling and Jesus, who are both useless. I mean, what? They're not offering anything right now. Cameroonian says, I was proud of the boys today. For the most part, I was very proud of the performance. I'm feeling disappointed. I'm not furious. Especially because I think my expectations were very low. So yeah. Blank Face Killer says, y'all say that every season. Clement says, I don't want to hear about this club not having money when you don't get rid of Deadwood quickly and not replacing them. Yep. John says the difference was Kiwior. Kiwior, it just dropped down so much. Mr. Happy says that third goal should have never been disallowed, in my opinion. The third goal as well, I felt like was a goal. I just feel like if that happens to us and one of our players stands there and then another player gets that header like Kiwior did and they score, they would just say that we should have been stronger, and we weren't, so Donnie says ball hitting Havertz, nothing sticks. It was just so strange. He just couldn't hit a barn door today. Remy says it's fair. It's a fair result given the context. I was anticipating a loss and they actually could have won the game. And I don't really understand why we couldn't have played the way that we played today against Bournemouth. I just can't understand it, so I think that's what was surprising to me. Tashego says, we need a world-class left winger and Duran. Let's see. Erwin says Joe Linton on Gabrielle last season, Jess. Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why that's not just given as whoever that player was that Kiwior jumped over needs to be stronger there, because he didn't push him down or use his arms or anything like that. He just got a better leap. And really, the other player did a cane. Like, he did a cane where he backs under him. Kiwior could have gotten really hurt, but he actually got the ball. And somehow that went against us. So, yeah, that and the penalty, I think Anthony Taylor got wrong. Cronky Jungle says Martinelli had to collect the ball, his negligence, and Martinelli had to collect the ball, his negligence, mad Liverpool break led to the break, to the goal. That, yeah, I agree with that. I was talking to my friend about it in the chat, and I was, or not in the chat, but like on text, and she was like, am I being harsh? And I'm like, I don't think so, because it was just very like, he wasn't ready for the ball, and he really should have collected it and done something better with it. Boy says Martinelli penalty shouts gets called against us, by the way. Would bet my house on it. I agree with that. The goal would have stood. The third goal that we scored would have stood. And the penalty that we should have gotten would have gotten called. We all know that. But it's just like earlier today, they had another last man situation where whoever it was just got a yellow. And I'm like, we'll never see anybody get sent off again for that this season. And then also Luis Diaz kicked the ball away and he didn't get a yellow. These things are just not, you're not going to ever see it again. You know, Sam says that's the wrong mentality to have. We sat back and paid for it. Didn't think we sat back. In fact, we conceded once we went forward and tried to attack. So if you guys, I just feel like you have to be watching the game. To me, there's just a really big fundamental difference between a team getting a foothold into the game and Arsenal sitting back and defending. But that's where we'll all disagree there, I feel like, because I just didn't see us sitting back. I actually thought, wow, we're still trying to attack. But the attacks kind of broke down here and there because guys just didn't have the quality. Donnie Lee says Liverpool were crap. Derek says everyone in this chat who thinks this is acceptable has a loser mentality and you're contributing towards the mediocrity. Shame on you. I don't think anybody said that this was acceptable. I actually haven't seen a single person say that this is just like an acceptable result. I think for the majority, people are either fuming or disappointed, but I'm not even about to sit here and say that I felt like that was a terrible performance. ISNG says, honestly, I don't think today was that bad, but we are so mentally drained due to the last few results and it's making us worse. I do think there's a lot of like holding on to you can't just like analyze one game. It's like, okay, well, this is what happened against Bournemouth, so I'm just going to carry that same narrative over. I feel like there wasn't that much similar to the Bournemouth game to today. But I'm seeing a lot of the same narratives, and I think it's just because we're fatigued already. Chosen One says, Jess, I think a player like Rodrigo is a realistic option in the summer. Need a superstar signing an attack. I think he might leave Madrid after the season. He's the exact player you're talking about. To be honest, though, like Chosen One, I just feel like we should have done that in the summer, or got somebody in the summer. And I'm just like talking about what we should do this coming summer is really tiring, because it's just like we had an opportunity this summer to go big. We could have gotten the striker or winger or both, an attacking midfielder, and we didn't do any of those things. And now we're in like not even November, and we're talking about what we should do for the summer. And I think that's most likely because we didn't do what we were supposed to. So yeah, we should we should go for a player like that, but it is what it is. Let's see. Thani says, stay up, sister, big up the team. Jamil says, Kai looks gas. You can see what rest does for a player like Saka. Kai didn't play all international breaks. So what is he tired from? He didn't go to play for Germany. So why does he need more rest? He had a 2-week break, Let's see. ISNG says, we have no one that we can trust our superstars to carry us like last season. I can't trust Arteta to steamroll the league like 2022, 2023, and can't trust Edu to buy anyone serious. Let's see. Boy says, can't rest Havertz, got no realistic CF options. Exactly. George Martin says, what pisses me off is how Arsenal approach games. Look at Bournemouth, games so lethargic, no sense of urgency, don't take chances when they come and never create enough. Yeah, the difference between the Bournemouth and today were just like night and day. They were just like night and day. So yeah, Mark says, we didn't sit back. Which game did you watch, guys? We attacked and they scored. We tried. Given the circumstances of our defense, we did proud. And John says, we've seen Liverpool at their best with all 11 players drawn against our depleted Arsenal. I pray we turn up with our strongest team at Anfield. Yeah. So there's a couple of things that I do think were positive. So if you don't want to hear the positive parts, this is probably where you should exit. Because I don't think it was all bad, but I think because of the result, people will pretend like every single performance was poor. I will say that I think after the brain fart that Marino had, I thought he actually played really well. I actually think Rice at the 6 worked. Shocker. I've been saying since the beginning, this whole idea that he can't play 6 for Arsenal is a farce. It does require everybody else to do their job, but you shouldn't have your 6 shouldn't have to do every single thing. Your other midfielders actually need to midfield. They need to pass the ball. They need to receive the ball. They need to pass between the lines. They need to attack. They need to do all those things. They need to support that player. So I think there is a world where we can play with Rice at the 6 and Marino at the 8 and still be successful. Also, that doesn't mean that Partey did not play well today and he didn't support Rice by inverting. So before anybody tries to kill me, but I think you're being disingenuous if you're going to say that you didn't think that Rice was one of our better performers. If not, he's at least top 3. He was fantastic today. So for me, Rice, Marino, that works. Can't wait for Odegaard to come in. I still think we're missing a little bit of that finesse. And Trossard, he tried, but he's just not that type of player. And Arteta refuses to play Ethan. I thought, again, like I said, I thought Partey was really good, and I thought Saka was really good too. Saka is world-class, like I've always said. I never reneged on it. I think people watch the player and they just lie, and I don't get why. Like, Saka's phenomenal. He can't do it on his own, though. And I think that's what we kind of saw today was Saka did his moment of magic, and nobody else in the front line really showed up the way that they needed to. And so, yeah, I really, when Saka said he thought this year was our year, he's playing like it. And that's all I can really, hope for a player is that if you say that you feel like we're going to win the league, I need you to play like it. I think in the past we've had players say it, but they didn't mean it. But Saka means it. So Saka, Partey, Rice, Marino after he fucked up, we're all very good. I thought our back line was good until it was torn apart with Kiwior, to be honest. That being said, like, the first goal that we conceded was incredibly soft. But again, Kai Havertz should have done better on the front post. And I think whatever Kai did over international break, he needs to undo, because he's had 3 stinkers in a row and was pretty culpable for one of our goals conceded today, and then also didn't offer enough in attack today. So undo whatever you did, and I don't understand why he needs more rest, because he did not go to international break with Germany. So he had a 2-week break and has regressed since then. So he needs to get better. Thani says, Saka is our GOAT. Do you think we are too defensive? Today, I didn't think we were defensive at all. I thought we were on the front foot. I thought we were dominant. I don't think there was, besides the time where Liverpool, substituted and got a little foothold in the game, I thought that we were not defensive. So that narrative to me doesn't apply today. I'm just scared that because we conceded trying to attack, which is what happened. We didn't concede sitting back. We conceded when we actually tried to attack, that Arteta will go back to being negative. C says, I'm proud of the team today. Our defensive depth is there, I think. If you get down to Kiwior, you're conceding. And that's just kind of where we're at now. And it's unfortunate, because what's going to end up happening is, because we're going to need to get rid of Tomiyasu and Kiwior and Zinchenko, that means that in the summer, we're going to have to rebuy in a position that we probably already bought in. which means that'll take away money from what we actually need to be looking at, which is the attack. So I'm frustrated by it. I really am. But you have to give some credit to MLS. You really do. I think he came out there. The goal to me wasn't his fault. I think Kiwior was all out running like a crazy person. you know? But yeah, I think MLS should get a lot of credit for today. And he came out there and showed that he can play against Liverpool in an even state, by the way. So it wasn't like we were already fully ahead or the game was already gone, So I feel so conflicted because there were really good performances in there that will get lost because we didn't win the game and because we can't compartmentalize anything. It's like we didn't win the game, so everything was bad when we know it wasn't. But for me, the difference in this game for me was the differences between the two attacks. They didn't need much. We had all the opportunities and we couldn't even hit the target. Not hitting the target in some of the situations in which we didn't was very frustrating. So yeah, John says Tomiyasu should go along with Kiwior. To be honest, they all need to go. All three, Zinchenko, Tommy, and Kiwior all need to go. C says, yeah, MLS was 0 drop off. He was great. Chosen One says, I think we should go all up in the cups. Try to win both of them and try to at least reach the semifinal of the UCL. I still believe in this team. Donnie says, get well soon, captain. Yeah, get well soon, Odegaard. Also, Gabriel, I thought actually was having a really good game until, he came off. And then obviously there's a huge drop off between him and Kiwior. And so hopefully it's not anything long term, but I was really happy with the performances that he and Timber put in. I thought they kept Salah pretty quiet, for the most part. He really didn't get any change until Kiwior came out there. And I know I'm putting a lot of emphasis on Kiwior, but rewatch the goal back. He leaves his pocket where he should be, and Salah is wide open. Salah is wide the fuck open. I don't know what he was thinking, but he's just so rattled. And I'm just like, you can't be rattled like this, Boy says, finally people are saying the terrible trio of Zinchenko, Kiwi, and Tommy must go. Told these man we should be talking my talk given enough time. Mark says, at one point, MLS was surrounded by 3 players or 4. I almost swallowed my heart. I thought he would tense and give them the ball to score. He was so composed and passed the ball. He's a gem. Should be getting more playing time. John says, also just when will Partey at right back experiment end? When will you learn? I actually don't think Partey was bad, but I think he was actually one of our best performers. I think Partey at right back worked for us. The problem is that Arteta left Partey at right back to make sure that Kiwior didn't touch the pitch, because he could have easily played White at right back. He could have played Kiwior and Gabriel, because Kiwior always plays on the right-hand side when he comes in for the most part, to come in for Saliba, and then Timber could have played on the left. And he wanted so badly to keep Kiwior off the pitch that he moved Partey at right back. And Partey played really well. Like, there's no notes. Like, there's nothing that he only got beat once by Luis Diaz. Mind you, most players get cooked by him. So the experiment will end when you have players on the bench that you can rely upon, because you shouldn't have to do all that. But Partey was good at right back. I thought he lost a little bit of his fitness at the end, but you would expect that, so it will end when Arteta doesn't feel like he needs to play him at right back to keep the likes of Kiwior off the pitch. He didn't want Kiwior to play. He did not want Kiwior to play. That's sad. Burmese says Partey is determined to get his contract renewed. Listen, you're not going to hear it from me, but Partey, contract version of Partey is a good player. Jagoon says, I was happy with Kiwior for a while, and then he reminded me of his deficiencies. So yeah, Jordan says, the beginning of the season gives me promise. All the turmoil and issues happening, red cards and injuries and unfair refereeing, and we're still 5 points off the top. I think it was really important not to lose this game. I'll be honest. I feel we damaged Liverpool a little bit, and then we also, still got a point. And we played Liverpool at home, we played Manchester City away, we played Tottenham away, and also Aston Villa away. So like bright side, that's not that bad. But does it make me think that we're gonna win the league? No. I really do think that we should have won today. So yeah. JG says, Jess, I really appreciate your clear-headed take on the game. Some of our hyper-reactive Arsenal fans, Lord have mercy. And I think I'm trying to, this is genuinely how I see it. We should have won, and there were some not so great performances, but there were good ones. So I feel like they should be looked at. This was nothing like Atalanta. This was nothing like Bournemouth, games where we were diabolical. We were diabolical against Shakhtar, diabolical against Bournemouth. But this was actually a good performance against what we would consider the second best team in the league at the moment. And we did well, but we would just always suffer when we don't have players that can hit the target in stressful situations against good teams. We will always suffer. Always. We have to construct the perfect goal every time. And I just need you to hit the target. I just need you to hit the target. When we get into good positions on the touchline or, in the half spaces, I need you to find your teammate. I need you to do very basic shit. On the left-hand side, we're not getting similar performances to what we're getting from Saka on that side, like on the right-hand side. Our center forward is not having those same impacts either. So in this, I'm talking about in like the 2 to 3% of games where we're not playing against teams that we're so much better than. So that's all I'm saying. Let's see. Jordan says Liverpool will drop off. They're not that great. Arsenal had one shot on goal before Liverpool's second goal, and you're saying we didn't sit back is funny. That is what Arteta does all the time, sits back and invites pressure. I don't know, guys. I don't see it the same. I don't think that we were not trying to get out. I think Liverpool got a foothold in the game because they made changes and those changes worked for them. And we should have changed what we were trying to do a little bit earlier, but you can't look at stats and say that gives you a full picture of the game, because you could look at stats and see possession and say that team dominated when we know that having possession doesn't mean that you actually dominated the game or you're the better team. You just had possession. So throwing little stats at me when I actually watched the game with my own two eyes, I don't think we sat back intentionally. I think Liverpool gained a little bit of headway in the game. I don't think Arteta said don't attack. If Arteta said don't attack and sit back, we would not have conceded that goal because we wouldn't have been attacking in the first place. We tried to attack every time we got the ball. We never just kicked it into the stands. We didn't just try to hold on to it and then rush it out, into Rosie. We didn't do any of those things. I don't see it the same, but you can't just throw little silly stats at me and say, oh yeah, well, that's, the stats mean this. We know that stats remove context. You watch it with your own eyes. Use your eye test. I didn't think we just sat back. I don't. I think players lost their fitness because we were so on the front foot in the first half. And Liverpool just grew into the game, into the second half, when they made those changes. I don't know what to tell you. Either way, it's like, I think people are trying to say Arteta was negative today. Nothing about our performance today was negative to me. It just wasn't. And I think, if we were maybe playing against like a Leicester or something like that, maybe I'd feel the same way. But I actually think Liverpool are a good team. So the whole idea that they were never going to get a foothold or ever attack or ever have possession is stupid. So yeah. Shamaria says, can't wait for that one game where we have our best fit 11. Well, when we get it, hold on to it because I don't think it's going to happen very often. I think we're always going to have injuries. So I'm not even looking forward. I want to see us perform like we did today without our best 11 because I feel like that's more important than getting that best 11 available because they're always going to get injured. Did you hear the Norway coach? He's salivating at the idea of getting Odegaard back for that next international break. We're always going to have injuries, so I think it's more important to find a way to play your game with and without your best 11 than hoping for that best 11 because we're probably only going to have it once or twice this season, but I think at the very least getting Odegaard back and getting somebody else out there that can contribute creatively will help us. That being said, I'm shocked, like I'm surprised at how well we played today, because before this they were acting like, well, without certain like the Bournemouth game, it will always stick out in my mind as what the fuck. If you could play like this against Liverpool, what the fuck were you doing then? You know? Tawanda says Arsenal players are considerably capable of a competitive title race, but Arteta though. Fair enough. Let's go ahead and fly through these player ratings. Raya. Wait. Okay. Why is it not letting me do it? Hold on. Okay, it's not letting me do it. But we might have to modify this a little bit. It's not letting me show these right now. Okay, so maybe we won't do it that way. But how can we do this? How can we cheat the system? It's not letting me put up the overlays. Do you think I could just say the player's name and we'll be able to figure it out? Let's see, because we're just gonna fly through this shit anyway, aren't we? Let's see. Sorry guys, I didn't know it was gonna do that. Yeah, let's talk about Raya. I actually think he was okay. I think I don't think there's anything he could have done for either goal. The first goal that they scored was more, I think the front post defending was really poor from Kai Havertz. I'll be really honest. I think he has to do better. He's 6'4", and he's letting Luis Diaz win that header is just ridiculous. And then the second goal is, to me, Martinelli not holding onto that ball, and then Kiwior running around like a child. So that being said, we did concede 2 goals. So I'm going to give Raya probably a little harsh, maybe like a 6. It wasn't like he made that many saves either, so yeah, you guys let me know what you think, but I'm going to give Raya a 6. And while you guys put your things in the chat, I'm just going to put a couple more of these names in here. Work with me, guys. It's just a little bit ghetto over here today. Sorry. But yeah, I don't think he was bad or anything, to be honest. Such a weird game. I kind of feel like the Man City game, I feel kind of similar, where I'm really disappointed that we didn't get all 3 points, but I don't feel like the performance was awful. It's like that, so you have to fight those demons of like, we were shit, because we weren't. But it feels like that because we dropped them points, so yeah. And it is 2 points dropped, by the way. So for people that are like, you're making excuses, I'm saying it's 2 points dropped, you fucking morons. Calm down. White, oh no, I'm sorry. Partey, I thought did really well at right back. I remember before the game started, everybody was really worried about it. And I think for the most part, he kept Luis Diaz quiet. And I also thought he did good things going forward. He's playing out of position. Anytime somebody's playing out of position, I try to make sure I can keep that context in mind, whether they're my favorite player or not, because I feel like when you're playing out of position, you can't remove that context from the performance. But I think he was really good. So I'm going to give him an 8. I thought one of our better performers out of position and really supported Rice, with some of the distribution. And I think that's why I think that Rice is fine at 6. If everybody else is doing their job, you don't need to rely on your DM to win the ball back, stop transitions, and move us up the pitch. You should be able to do that, And I thought Partey was a big part of that. So I'm going to give Partey an 8. Let's see what you guys are saying. C says, I hate Partey at right back. He was quality there today, period. Dragoon says Partey 8. Seed says Partey 8. Junior says Thomas was an 8. Christian says just chill. Listen. I don't tell you. Burmy says Partey 8.5. Junior says Ben was an 8. Partey 9. C says Raya good on claiming crosses, settled my nerves. Yeah, I think Partey deserves credit. Again, If I think he played good, I'm gonna fucking say it. Brian says 8 is fine. And Boy says agreeing with Sai. Where's Sai? Oh, Raya good at claiming crosses settled my nerves exactly. So Raya had a good game. Maybe I could have given him a 7, but you concede enough goals, and I'm just like, all right, fuck it, you get a 6. Even if it wasn't like really fully your fault. White got an assist and also had a good game. We didn't get exposed. We weren't under threat. His distribution was good. I thought for a player, I was so worried about our right-hand side. I was rattled in the beginning of the game. Like when I saw the lineup, I was like, White at right side of center back and Partey. We got 2 guys that are playing in positions that they don't play on a regular basis. They held it the fuck down. Because the second goal comes from that other side. And the first goal, I mean, you could say that Partey maybe could have done better, but I think the first fuck up actually came from Kai on that corner. So, but I think Partey and White on that right-hand side actually did really well in Saliba's absence. And so I think both of them deserve a lot of credit, but White I've been really like tough on so far this season. I just haven't felt like he's been locked in, but he was locked in today. And that's all you can ask for. Again, strange game. We weren't perfect. We didn't get all 3 points, but some people do deserve good scores. They didn't do anything wrong, so White for me is one of them. Gabriel, I also thought had a really good game. He did his now it's becoming more of like his 2 things. He has 2 things that are like the Gabriel special. The flying scissor clear out thing that he does where the ball is like kind of behind him, but he reaches behind and kicks it out. He had one of those. He was winning his headers. And then he also his like vintage thing with Nunez. Him and Nunez like to fight. I don't know. It's like they match each other's freak. They love it. And I thought for the most part, it was Gabriel winning that battle. Nunez only got changed when somebody else came out there. So I also thought Gabriel was good. I don't know. I thought his performance was good. I thought they kept them quiet. They didn't really have that many chances. You guys will let me know if you think they should be lower or higher. But yeah, let me know in the chat what you guys are thinking. Let's see. Chosen One says, I think we can win both cups. They have to play like they actually want to win those trophies, though. Mata says, Gabriel has his Xhaka dive down, always winning us free kicks. I thought it was really good. To be honest, Gabriel, he was calm, cool, collected. He wasn't rattled by the situation. And he's our leader and our aggressor back there. Once he was gone, it was scary. So I'm hoping he's ready to go for the next game. I hope Big Gabby is okay. I agree. Boy says Gabriel could play in the 2000s Prem. He's got the head for it. He's just like an old school center back, and you need that. I think that's why the yin and yang of him and Saliba works so well. But I think we forgot that Ben and Gabriel were actually a good center back pairing as well, and they kind of brought that back. So we know that those 2 things work. Could you take Gabriel out of the lineup? Probably not. So he needs to come back. Kwame says White deserves a 9 for his pass to Saka to put us in front. Clinical. I mean, an assist and a solid performance in a position you don't play all the time. We got to give him his flowers. Sai says, I fucking love Big Gab so much. My ratings are wonky. Iris says, we're winning the league, baby. Trust me on this. Junior says, G, Magalhães was an 8. And Jagoon says, I think we can all agree that we can rise to the occasion in one-off games, so a cup is definitely realistic this season. Next, I want to talk about, let's just do all the defenders because I don't want to go back. Kiwior, listen, he's just not at our level, and he's just somebody I'm going to have to take the L on. I actually did not think that he was a bad player before, and I don't think he's a bad player now. I think that he struggles not to be rattled in these games. He's not aggressive enough. His positioning is not great. He's weak. He doesn't really express himself on the ball either. So he doesn't even have like a saving grace, but he's really good on the ball. It's like, what do you do well? And Arteta's moving people around and playing them out of position to keep you off the pitch, which isn't a good sign for you. So Kiwior, you got to give him like a 5 or something like that. He was just, yeah, I can't do it. You guys let me know what you guys think. But he jumps out of position, and that really isn't the whole reason why we can see that goal, but it's a big reason because Salah's right there. I don't really understand what you're doing. I'm very confused about why you did that, but he's just so rattled. That's the only thing I can think of, is that he just loses his bearings because he's not used to playing in high leverage matches, and he doesn't have the whatever you want to call it to play at this level for us. Unfortunately, he just doesn't have it. MLS, by stark contrast, is a player that is absolutely on this level. Receiving the ball in tight areas, not giving it away, not scared to be on the same pitch as Liverpool. They pressed him. He got out of difficult scenarios. He actually had a really good pull back in the left half space. He's a player that for me can definitely be playing in the Premier League. Doesn't need babying. Making a mistake is not going to crumble his whole career. He's ready. I don't think we need to baby him anymore. Zinchenko is done. I thought it was strange that Zinchenko went into Shakhtar's locker room after the game and not ours. I think he's pretty much on the outs. I don't see him coming back into this team. And Arteta opting for MLS twice while Zinchenko was on the bench, for me, is like, he's dead and buried. But just continue to play MLS. Continue to give him the confidence. This will give him so much confidence this game. For me, MLS deserves an 8 as well. Young player coming in against Liverpool, doesn't make really any mistakes. I know the goal came from his side, but I don't think he was culpable for it. I'll be so honest. Yeah, I like the player. And Timber, I thought maybe not as good as everyone else, but did keep Salah quiet. I'm sad that he couldn't maintain the whole game, but we definitely rushed him back for this game. So hopefully we don't lose him for a long time. So I'm gonna give him a 7. Let's see. Boy says Arteta saw the weight of pass from MLS for the pass to Sterling, and he's been convinced by him ever since. He's ready. Kevo says, hey, Jess, I still think Kiwior is not a bad player. He just needs time. We don't have time. I think with Kiwior, it's like you want to do he's a young player that needs time and needs this, but you're in a situation right now where you're like third choice for every position that you play, if not fourth. So the opportunities that you get are scarce. And so you're not going to get game after game after game. I think the opportunity for Kiwior to come in to Arsenal was the season where Arteta decided to play Rob Holding. I think we're in a totally different scenario with Kiwior if he's playing those games and he's trusted, because I think some of his rattled comes from knowing that Arteta doesn't trust him. Arteta's actions say that he doesn't trust Kiwior. So you go out there, and if you're fragile of mind, you're just going to double down on those feelings from Arteta because you're not going to play well. And so I think the time to play Kiwior was then. At that time, he didn't get played in that time. It took for everybody else to get injured last season for him to be trusted at left back. And then the minute Zinchenko was fit, he was ripped out of the 11. I think it's done. I think you do enough damage to a player to make sure that he never recovers. And I think it's a two-way street. I think Kiwior hasn't done enough to impress Mikel, and Mikel hasn't done enough to get Kiwior good enough minutes and trust, so that you can build that trust. It's fucked, and Kiwior is not a child either. So we have to remember that. But at Arsenal, sometimes you don't get a string of games. You don't get a string of games. You need to impress when you have a chance. And he was good in that 8-game stretch where we played well, but everybody was playing well. I could have been back there and we would have been fine. So I just think it's done with Kiwior. I really do. Kwame says Timber is so solid, but he put another incredible performance at left back. Boy says the fact that Arteta went with holding over Kiwior is the biggest indictment on the player, is a bigger indictment on the player. Christian says Kiwi is the type of center back I would bully on the pitch zero aura. Kwame says Lewis-Skelly isn't that bad, but he didn't stop Salah when Liverpool equalizer for 2-2. Rewatch that goal. Kiwior jumps out of his position and leaves Salah free. So to me, it's not really a Lewis-Skelly thing. It's a Kiwior thing. He left that whole space open for him. So yeah, and other than that, like Lewis-Skelly was really, really good. So yeah, not sure. Yeah, not sure about Lewis-Skelly being culpable for that goal. Because Kiwior flew beyond. I think he was so wanting to help Miles Lewis-Skelly, Kiwior, that he overcompensated and then left the space open for Salah. So if he just stayed in his fucking position, maybe Salah wouldn't went beyond us. So to me, that's a Kiwior thing. Kevo says he wasn't that bad today, to be honest. Maybe you're talking about Kiwior. You don't have to be super bad to be culpable for the goal, though. Boy says, let me be frank, folks. I would never expect MLS to be able to bottle Salah. He's not at fault for Salah's goal anyway. Yeah, and I don't know. Yeah. Let's move on to midfield. I think, again, I was having this conversation in a group chat the other day, and I've seen the tide turning quite a bit. People at the beginning of the season felt like Rice could play the 6, and then Thomas Partey had a couple of good games there, and then people started saying, well, Rice could never play there. And I feel like two things can be true at the same time, that Partey is, having good games and is playing well at DM, but that doesn't retroactively mean that Rice can't play 6. You just can't play Rice Havertz together in midfield. Rice has never had the benefit of playing with 3 midfielders at one time or having a balanced midfield. He's always had Havertz in there with him. And I'm like, I don't want to go back on the Havertz thing, but we know it wasn't working. But I'm not surprised that with everybody else doing their job, meaning, Partey is inverting and doing his bit, Timber's doing his bit, Saka's doing his bit, Trossard's doing his bit, Marino is doing his bit, that Rice can just do what he does best. And then he also was doing really well on the ball too. Receiving the ball with confidence, taking confident touches, good switches of play, good passes, good pace, getting forward at times, carrying the ball here and there. Rice can play 6 for Arsenal. You just have to have a balanced midfield. I've always stated that. I don't think anything has changed. But I get that, you don't want to be on the wrong side of history, but you also have to remember that we bought Rice for 105 million. And that money cannot go to waste with him playing second striker for Arsenal. Arteta either needs to find a way for Partey and Rice to exist together with Rice in a deeper capacity, or he needs to play Rice at the 6 and figure out something else to do with Partey. You can't have it both ways. This second striker nonsense, I'm so glad it wasn't there today because we played so much better. Marino was in positions to, get those balls into the left half space for Martinelli. It was just so much better, and we did it against a good team. So why can't we do this against the shitty teams? So yeah, I thought Rice and Marino had a brain fart at the beginning of the game that almost sent me to the hospital. I almost died in that moment. I know most of us almost did, but I thought beyond that, he scored his first goal for Arsenal. He did some really good things. I thought Marino really grew into it, and I think him and Rice do look good together. The problem that we have is, Partey and you have Rice. You have a player that you spent 105 million on, and Arteta is ruthless in some circumstances and then is not in others. And what he cannot afford to do is play his marquee signing out of position, have him lose confidence, and have him have multiple games in a row where he has no influence on the game. He just can't afford it. So he needs to figure out what he's going to do. And that doesn't mean that Partey and Rice can't play together, but he has to modify left center mid to suit Rice. But he's never going to play it like Xhaka would have. You know what I mean? So Arteta needs to figure that shit out. That being said, to me, Rice gets an 8. He was good. He's right up there with Partey and Ben White for me and Gabriel as good performers. Marino had a little fuck up in there, but I'm going to give him, he would have got like a 7.5 had he not scored, but he scored his first goal. I'm going to give him an 8. I thought he was good. No, I don't have any issues with him. To be honest, he had a little brain fart at the beginning, but he recovered really well. He didn't let it sink him. He didn't let it become the bozo. He just shook it off, and that's what you need. Trossard grew into the game, but he's not Odegaard, and I think that's just the truth. The sooner you get Odegaard in there, the better, because Arteta doesn't trust Wineri. 7. And Wineri came on, and I thought he did some good things. I think he needs more playing time. I just don't understand what we're doing. 7. And then we'll go into the forwards after that. Let me see what you guys are saying. Shamari says that Marino-Skelly. Junior says Leandro was a 7. Kwame says, excuse my spelling, Lewis-Skelly. Kai says, I'd rather have Emile Smith-Rowe than Mikel Marino. I wouldn't, because Emile Smith-Rowe didn't score any goals for 2 years, and Mikel scored in like his second start. So no, I wouldn't. Burmy says Saka 9. Haven't gotten there yet, but yeah, he's going to get a high score. Victor says the Marino celebration was cold, not going to lie. Saka's celebration was good too. Kwame says Marino scored a lovely header from a free kick from Rice. He did. Let's see. Junior says Mikel Marino was an 8. Burmy says Marino an 8. Boy says Rice was great. It's almost like when you play players in their natural positions, things just come together. But when you try to Jimmy rig shit together because you're too afraid to abandon your ideas, your galaxy brain bullshit, he is still trying to do the second striker thing. And I need him to abandon that shit all the way. Bin it. Like, it's done. Play Rice in a deeper position next to Partey, or just play Rice. You cannot afford to waste 105 million. You can't. You can't. And at this stage, as important as Partey is to us, he's out of contract in the summer. But you can't afford to let Rice flounder. So he needs to be the priority. And he needs to play in his position. So I don't know what you need to do to get it going, but, get it done, because it's ridiculous. Kwame says Liam, Rice did well. He created the free kick for Marino with a lovely header. Yeah, he was good. Liam says this is the reason you will never win anything. You're happy with 1 point. Guys, am I happy with 1 point? Is Liam right? Am I happy with 1 point? Am I happy with 1 point? Liam, I know you're like a Man City fan and all that kind of stuff, but you lack any sort of like common sense, and maybe you need to clean your ears out because you can't hear, or you came in late and you're just typing whatever comes straight to your head. Nobody said they were happy with 1 point. So yeah, you're just saying whatever. Declan Rice has been awful for you guys since you lost at Aston Villa at home, but he was fantastic today. So lens crafters or spec savers, probably where you need to go to get a new prescription for your glasses or contacts so you can see clearly. Also, you need a Q-tip to clean out your ears so you can understand what I'm actually saying. And then you also just need to get a life. So I don't know where you can get one of those, but figure that out. Let's see. Kwame says we are happy with Arteta. Shamara says, no, you said 2 points dropped. Exactly. People don't listen. They're just fucking dumb. And no offense, but I don't feel bad telling people that they're being dumb. I really don't. Victor says people really just say stuff literally what? They don't have a brain. Seriously. Like, it was like before the game, Arteta said so many times, we don't feel sorry for ourselves. The injuries are what they are. We need to persevere beyond them. We're not going to make excuses. A couple hours later, Gary Neville comes out with some, video talking about he doesn't want to hear any excuses from Arteta about injuries. Nobody listens. They have very low IQ, and they don't use like any common sense, so whether you can't listen to understand because you're not smart enough to do so, or you refuse to, in both circumstances, you're dumb. So I don't know what to tell you. Genuinely, I can't help you. I can't help you. Let's talk about the forwards. Havertz, I just think he's he's had too many stinkers since coming back from international break. He could have had a goal against Shakhtar, but that would have papered over the cracks of a poor performance, I think. He was really poor against Bournemouth, and I thought he was poor today, not hitting the target in like very simple circumstances, not creating any dangerous moments. Maybe the third goal should have counted, but I just felt that Saka is far and clear our best attacker, and it shouldn't be that. As good as Saka is, it cannot just be the Saka show. And right now, between Raheem Sterling, Jesus, Kai Havertz at times, and Martinelli at times, it's just very obvious that we should have upgraded in attack. That doesn't mean that Havertz can't be in the team, but there's just certain players that can't be relied upon in the 2 to 3% of games within the season where we just need a moment of magic. And, that's just kind of where we are. I thought he had like a stinker. I'm going to give him a 6, but it should be like a 5, actually. I'm being too kind. It wasn't good at all. It was very poor. And we expect better now. So he needs to, whatever this is, get rid of it. Whatever this is, stop it. Like, I don't want to see it anymore. Because it's 3 games now on the trot. Martinelli, better than Havertz, dangerous moments, but still not hitting the target. I think he does have to, he's earned some culpability with the goal that Liverpool scored because he just has to hold on to the ball there. He cannot lose it. I don't know why he wasn't ready for it. I don't know why he couldn't trap it. I don't know why he doesn't get his body between the ball and the player so that they have to foul him or, whatever. But it's just a poor moment. And I thought he was lively and looked better than in the moments outside of creating chances or whatever. He looked better than he has in games gone by, but we're at the point now with Martinelli where just being lively and running fast is not enough because we need to win games. So, yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. And like playing up against Konate, by the way, is very difficult. So I want to keep that in mind, but I just didn't think that he offered enough. I don't think him and Kai offered enough. And ultimately, I thought them being poor in the final third cost us. So 6 for him, could be lower. And then Saka, man of the match, played like a player that wants to win the league, led the team well as captain, which there's certain people in this team that shouldn't even touch the captain's armband. But he was fantastic today. And I just think he's on a completely different level than all of our attackers. I just don't even think it's close. And that says a lot, so, but the goal he scores, the moments that he created, to me, he's just world-class. And I don't even know why we kowtow to rivals and, because they don't think he is. I mean, we had a rival in here a couple seconds ago saying that we're okay with a point when nobody in here said that we're okay with a point. When you realize that rivals just talk out of their asses, you can just call it what it is. Saka is a world-class player, and a lot of them would be happy to have him in their team, so he came back with a vengeance. I love the performance. I'm sure he's disappointed that we didn't get all 3 points because he should have got, like, he deserved to be on the winning side. There wasn't a winning side, but you get what I'm saying. But I like players that back their chat. I think our players in the past have spoken to the media about feeling like we're going to win the league or we should win the league or whatever. And their performances didn't match. Saka's performances match the fact that he believes that we'll win the league this season. So I'm going to give him a 9. We need to buy a couple of attackers on Saka's level. We can't continue to delay this any longer. To me, I think the first port of call in the summer has got to be 2 attackers that can create moments like Saka can. And they're not in our team right now. So, and I said what I said. Junior says Bukayo was a 9. Christian says the game is slowing for Saka. Boy says Saka is world class. I agree. Osman says Saka has the intelligence to understand the rhythm of the game. The goal we conceded came from a good play from Saka on the right that Martinelli lost on the left, frustrating. He's just on a completely different level than the rest of our attackers, and it's just not even that close. Like, so yeah, like that's kind of all that needs to be said about that. Saka is clear. John says Saka is 8.5. Burmy says the way he dribbles past players. I mean, people say he can't beat his man. He be having like 3 or 4 guys on him at a time. Like, he's clear. 9 for Saka. He's maturing before our eyes this season. He's playing like a man. Erwin says definitely would have beaten Bournemouth if he was playing. And, you know, we obviously had a drop in our levels, but I just feel like, you know how we'll not have Calafiori, but we'll have Timber, or, you know, we don't have White, but we have Timber, or, maybe Rice plays at the 6, but then Partey plays at the 6. There's not like a huge drop. The level of like depth and quality that we have at the back at times, there's not that up front, and as much as I accept that the quality will drop off if Saka's not there, it should never drop to the levels in which we saw against Shakhtar and also Bournemouth. So I can accept that the quality is not the same, but the level of drop off is kind of insane. And it's like has to be by design, because I don't think any club, this is an accident. Like I don't think that this is an accident. I think it's a choice. So yeah. Boy says Bellingham won a lot before Madrid, huh? I don't know. Like, guys, Liam is bored, I guess, and wants attention. So we'll just leave him in here to kind of like collapse upon himself. But I don't even know why you guys are responding to him, because he actually is not saying anything. Boy says, you never even situated in reality. It's such a weak tale. So yeah, like Saka's just so clear. Kevo says, Jess, what are your thoughts on Mr. Consistent Ben White? Like I said, when I went through his player rating, I thought, as worried as I was about him and as harsh as I've been on him so far this season, he was totally locked in today in a way that I haven't seen in games gone past so far. And the assist that he put in for Saka and his overall gameplay the entire game was really, really top. So well done him. He really does deserve his flowers. Last but not least, Jesus, what do you even say? Like, let's be real. Ran around, had 1 shot on goal, he's just whatever. 6, him and Sterling aren't offering very much right now. And if I had to choose anybody to come off of the bench before then, I would, if I had the options. I feel like they're not offering anything. As frustrating as Trossard hasn't won any Premier Leagues. He doesn't have 100 goals in England. He's not on £265,000 per week. And he provides so much more than either one of them do. And so I at least when I say that Trossard he turned around his funky ass performances from the last couple of games, but this is somebody that's actually contributed this season, has had some tough times, but Sterling and Jesus have done nothing this season so far. And so, yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Arteta, I love Arteta. I think he was brave today with the game plan. I think people are being harsh saying that, we didn't really try to attack. Even in the second half, we literally conceded trying to attack. I think the substitutions came too late. I think the response to the positive substitutions that Slot made was the difference, because we took too long to make positive subs. And then they gained a foothold. And then you can't really help Kiwior, but combination of Kiwior and Martinelli on that side concede, so yeah, I don't know. I feel like the damage was done against Bournemouth. So this game and performance is not something that I'm going to sit back and think, oh my God, we were so bad, because we weren't. We were actually quite good. But it's just frustrating that we can be so positive against Liverpool, but we're so negative against Bournemouth, So yeah, we come out with a balanced midfield against Liverpool, but we come out with the atrocity and the Frankenstein that was a midfield against Bournemouth. So yeah, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Says, or Sai, sorry, 7.5 for Arteta, 7 for Arteta. Kwame says Saka is world class. Kai says, let's be real, I'm an Arsenal fan and love Saka, but he's not better than Palmer. Let's just be honest about it. I mean, if you want to sit on your knees and gargle it for Palmer, you can, but I just don't think that like they're even really that comparable because they play in two completely separate positions. And Saka's been consistent for multiple seasons and Palmer's been here for 5 seconds. So if you want to be a Palmer fan, be a Palmer fan, but I don't think that he's better than Saka. I think they play two completely different positions. And anytime we don't win a game, there's all these other players that are just so much better than our players. But Saka is he's just different. So I don't get it. Palmer's a great player, by the way. But like the performance that he put in against Newcastle was great, but it was a performance for a number 10. And Saka put in a really top performance against Liverpool, which Palmer did not. Remember, Palmer had a ghost game against Liverpool last week. And so to me, I'm just very like, like Palmer's great. He is. He's a fantastic player. But I'm not about to sit here and act like Saka's not that guy. James says, I disagree, Jess. We dropped points not because of slot sub. It was because we lost Timber and Gabriel. I didn't really say that I don't know. I think we dropped points because our attackers are not clinical enough and they wasted too many chances. That's actually the main reason why I think we didn't get all 3 points, but whatever. Winning Way says, we need a striker ASAP. Havertz and Jesus ain't going to do Gyökeres over Isak. Too late for that. Window's closed. It's closed. But yeah, guys, like, I don't know. I feel like normal. I don't know. But isn't something on right now? Is it Inter and Juventus or something on right now? So I think I'm going to go watch that and eat some food and chill out. But hopefully, this game wasn't like the end of the world for you guys. I just don't think that this is the one to crash out over. But yeah, that's just me. I loved a lot of the performances. I just wish we were braver against Bournemouth, but it is what it is. Make sure you guys like and subscribe on your way out. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.